It's all about the U.S. shutdown, the longest in history, according to reports, and Donald Trump isn't happy with a particular set of lawmakers. The Democrats, it was that before he even came to make an adjustment, they rejected his offer. What was the cause of all this problem? What was the cause of the U.S. shutdown? What's really behind the intrigues of what the world is seeing that is happening in the U.S.? All these and more we're going to talk about on the discussion segment of International Forum. Me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner, a political analyst, both local and international politics. Is well grounded. Join me, welcome Barrister Anakwe Mbanefo. Welcome to the show, sir. Happy New Year.
Right.
Wow. Fem grip. All right. As in very close to him is a political analyst, a human rights activist, both local and international politics. He's well grounded. Join me, welcome Stanley Usaze. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. Here we are. Many persons, they saw this coming, but not this long. Nobody expected Donald Trump to do what he did to really incur the wrath, so to speak, of the Democrats in the House. Hence, we are seeing this thing happening in the U.S. of A. As a legal practitioner, what are your perceptions of what is happening right now in the U.S., the shutdown of government?
Yeah, thank you very much. Look at the background, of how Donald Trump came to power. Donald Trump came to power in a controversial presidential election in the U.S., that defied all political calculations, in the sense that the candidate that got the popular vote, Hillary Clinton, wasn't declared the winner. Trump was declared the winner by virtue of electoral votes, and Trump became the president of the United States of America. And since Trump became the American president, it has been one controversy after another in his presidency. A lot of guys has wondered if that is his destiny, or that is what he chose as a Republican president of the U.S. However, coming to what we're here today, discussing the shutdown in the U.S. government. For the first time when Trump was campaigning, Trump had made a lot of promises, electoral promises to the citizens of the U.S. And one of the promises he made was that he was going to build the wall, across Mexico, stopping illegal immigration, by Mexicans to the U.S. And Trump said it in several forums while he was campaigning, that wall must be built, and that if that wall is built, that Mexicans must pay, that Mexico must pay. Trump was singing in every political rally that as far as he's concerned, that a wall must be built and Mexico must pay. I will make Mexico pay for that wall. Mexico must pay for this wall. And today, we are afraid, or we're a little bit jolted by Trump's move to make the citizens of the United States pay for this war. And if you ask me, the shutdown is quite unfortunate, because from the time Trump was campaigning, he made it clear that Mexico was going to pay. And so why did Trump now make the U-turn and is now compelling Americans to pay? Is now trying to force the Congress, the Senate, to now approve his $5.7 billion US to build the Mexican wall.
All right.
And then
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
You just hold on.
So I feel that Trump has swallowed that election promises as far as Mexico wall is concerned.
Swallowed election promises as far as the Mexican war is concerned. Stanley?
Yes, of course. We really need to understand the fact that the American people are a little bit skeptical of President Donald Trump. looking at what my co-panelists have analyzed, you agree to the fact that the United States of America is built on the basis of freedom. That is to say, no person or group of persons have the right whatsoever to restrict an American from its right to freedom of movement, freedom of speech, and as well any other freedom that is entitled to humanity. But if you look at the Trump presidency, it created some little controversy that gave room for some skepticism, in the sense that we knew the growth of the white supremacists. When there was an attack, instead of Trump to come out publicly to condemn in strong terms the actions of the white supremacists, he said, and I quote, "We will have to blame many sides, many sides." That alone grew in the mindset of the average American people. And he said before now that we are going to build a wall to stop the inflows of population from, criminal elements from Mexico down to the United States of America. And he said that the money that will be used to build that particular facilities will be provided by the Mexican government. But at the end of the day, the statement of Trump is now like depicting some level of inconsistency. So the Democrats, who strongly believes that it is the right of all Americans to be free, who believes that the country is built on the basis of freedom, believes that President Donald Trump is infringing on the rights of the people. Now, what about the issue of gun control? The Second Amendment. So the action of President Donald Trump is really showing to those persons who are not aligning with the views and political ideology of President Donald Trump that, yes, there is need for them to stand. That is why you are not seeing disagreement between President Donald Trump and the Democratic Party. But again, within the Republicans, there are some persons that are in support of what the Democrats are doing. But now election is fast approaching. If you recall when they did their midterm election, we once said here that whether you like it or not, there's going to be a direct confrontation. Not even an easy one. As of today, over 8,000 federal workers have not been able to have access to their wages. And the U.S. government shutdown is about 32 days now, if I am not mistaken. As at yesterday, it was 31 days. Today, it is which is the longest in the history of the United States of America. And President Donald Trump now is trying to get some political prisoner in this contest. So everybody is now holding their ground, claiming that, no, I cannot shift my ground, while President Donald Trump has refused to shift his ground. But just recently, he tried as much as possible to shift his ground. But it now depicts some members, like the right-wing Americans, they now believe that President Donald Trump is a little bit weak when it comes to the issue of this war. So that is what is going on.
All right, a little bit weak when it comes to the issue of the war, but Donald Trump is blaming the shutdown on the Democrats.
Why the Democrats is still blaming the Republicans?
And the Democrats is blaming the president, that they are not in support of what is really going on now. Is it a crime for Americans, for the taxpayers' money to be used to build the wall, knowing fully well that is for securing the lives and property of the American citizen?
Yeah, I think the good question, right? Yes, but what is the essence of the wall? We should be asking ourselves. If Trump's administration wants to build the Mexican wall, what is the essence of that wall? The essence of that wall is to stop illegal immigrants from infiltrating to the United States of America. Okay? Now, to a large extent, the idea is good. To a large extent, the idea is noble. To a large extent, the idea is wonderful. But we also have to look at the legitimate way of building this wall. Again, if this wall is built, for instance, can it solve the problem of, influx of illegal immigrants into U.S.? That is what Democrats are saying. That this particular wall, even if we spend, $10 billion on this wall, it cannot solve the problem of illegal immigrants into U.S. Because the people that are trying to enter US, these guys are desperate. They will still do everything within their powers to infiltrate themselves into America. So Democrats are offering alternative means of checking illegal immigrants into the United States of America. Proposals have been made that by some companies that they can provide some robotic vehicles that will be patrolling the borders, so that if any illegal immigrant is trying to cross the border, there will now be a central room where it will be, the computer will be reporting that so and so number of people at so and so place, this one from so and so border, police will be on alert to move in to get them arrested. That we are in a technologically advanced world, and that we as Americans can make use of that technology to check these illegal immigrants and not to build a wall. As we are speaking right now, before now, Mexicans has built tunnel into some states in the US where they pass through to enter US illegally. And if they can build tunnel across the US border, what solution can your $5.7 billion wall, now what solution can it provide to stop illegal immigrants from entering the US? So Democrats are saying that wall can't solve the problem, and that the $5.7 billion you are proposing for the wall cannot help the economy of the US in any way, cannot stop these people from entering the US. That money can be used to solve any other problems. We have better ways of checking these guys from entering the US. And like my friends earlier said, when we were talking about the rights of the people, the fundamental rights of the people, the United States being a free society where people has right to express people can express themselves, freedom of speech, freedom of association, and all that, as enshrined in their constitution, and that of the United Nations, and that of African Council on Human Rights. Does the Democrats and other Americans have the right to say this is what we want and this is what we don't want? The United States is known as a beacon of democracy. The United States is the stronghold of democracy, where the rest of the world are copying this democracy. You understand? And the essence of democracy is to allow people, to aid their views. It's government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Right.
But the body language of Trump is stating the otherwise.
Yes.
Trump is seeing himself as an emperor. He sees himself as an Adolf Hitler. He sees himself as a military junta. He sees himself as something bigger than the citizens whom he's trying to protect.
Okay.
But he has refused to listen to the voice of the people. And this is not good for that government. And this is not good for the Republican Party. And is not making America function as a country of free democracy and a country of free speech.
All right. Now he talked about this proposal, or this impasse, so to speak, not being so good for the people, and talk about Trump's stand. But in course of the electioneering, he made a promise, and it was one of these promises that he made that even made people to vote for him, even the Electoral College.
Now, when you look at this issue critically, you agree to the fact that the overall majority of American population did not actually vote for President Donald Trump. Election in America is different from policy implementation. How many persons are really supporting this policy as put forward by President Donald Trump? Electoral college is just like a fragment of the entire population that decided if the presidency of President Donald Trump. But now we are talking about the overall population of the country who have the right to speak, freedom to air their view. How many of them is keen into the border wall that President Donald Trump wants to build? Look at the inconsistency in his statement. Mexico will surely pay for the wall. After some few months or some few years, we will ensure that we build the wall. America will pay for the war, Mexico will return back the funds. As of today, nobody is even talking about Mexico coming in to even fund at all. Nothing like counterpart funding. You want American government to spend getting about $6 billion in addressing just a border war that is being seen by so many American people as an apartheid war. Whether we like it or not, we should understand the kind of relationship that exists between North American country and the American in itself. What is the trade agreement? When President Donald Trump came into being, As close as Canada to the United States of America, President Trump went to renegotiate trade deal. All other countries around, he renegotiated. And as of today, President Donald Trump now see himself as an emperor or a political demigod. In this case, the Democrats will not want to sit back and watch President Donald Trump have his way in totality. So there is need for resistance, and this resistance is really good for America. As at now, the government shutdown is not only affecting America, it is affecting the popularity of President Donald Trump. He's the one that is losing. He dragged the country into shutdown. He personally shut down the government. But at the end of the day, he's now negotiating. What the Republicans, the Democrats are saying, you cannot tell us before we can do any negotiation, government must be reopened. You go and reopen the government, then we can go back to the seat. It's just like, I watched on CNN this morning, I've forgotten the name of this man. He said, you cannot place a gun on our head and expect us to negotiate. That becomes an intimidation. What President Donald Trump is doing now, he's placing a gun on the heads of American people for them to agree to his policy, failing to understand that the most sensible democratic institution on earth exists in the United States of America.
All right, now he talked about intimidation. Who is being intimidated here? Is it the president or the Democrats? Because both are standing firm to the word. He talked about a gun being pointed at the head. How would you really see his analogy? Talking about intimidation. Is Trump intimidating the House, or the one now intimidating Trump?
Well,
No. Let him react to that.
The Trump administration actually have not been that democratic. When he recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel, I don't think he has the blessing of the Congress to have done so. And then when he said to the Democrats that he was going to use his veto to shut down the government, Trump can be seen as intimidating the Democrats and the rest of Americans. And he made do his threat by shutting down the government. And like my friend said, it's the longest since America,
J32 and counting.
Yes. And it has now become a matter of ego, of who backs down first.
Yes.
Because Trump feels it's all and all, it's finding it difficult to be a statesman. To be a statesman, you must calm down for the sake of the interest of the nation. But Donald Trump has refused to be a statesman. And instead of being a statesman, he is himself and his party is providing a solution worse than a disease. And when you profile a solution worse than a disease, you're not making any progress. What Democrats are saying is that is there nothing else we can do outside beating this war. Again, what is equally causing the migrants coming in is because they have weak government and weak economy. So most Democrats has come up with one or two school of thought, saying that America has an option that they can still go back to Mexico and fine-tune the economy of Mexico by giving aid to Mexican government, by ensuring that the institution is functioning, by ensuring that the economy of Mexico is working, by ensuring that the right people are brought into power, by ensuring that the people are comfortable, and that in a situation where that country is comfortable, the citizens will not be talking about leaving the country again. They will settle down there. That part of this is to some of these countries that are migrating to the U.S., if they can be very strong economically on their own, and then politically viable, the idea of trooping into the U.S. wouldn't be there. But when you allow weak nations to stay around you, the danger is that they are going to constitute nuisance into their own nation. And that is exactly what Great Britain is saying now. That's why they're not saying no to Theresa May, that we have left the European Union, we've left. We're not a party to any other deal because of the dangers posed by these immigrants to Great Britain, and that the earlier we stand on our foot, the better for us. So Trump is not looking at this thing from holistically. He is still seeing it from the general's point of view. He sees himself as a monarchy, an oligarchy. He does not want to look at other people's views.
All right.
And democracy is built on other people's views. It's not built on personal opinion.
All right, now, would you want to go with that suggestion?
Yeah,
Make Mexico viable economically, politically? Do the U.S., do they have the power, the might to make that change in Mexico?
The reason why we are talking about Mexico here is because of the fact that the border exists between America and Mexico. But the question is it only Mexicans that are applying that place to the United States of America? Up to Venezuela. The regime of President Donald Trump and the regime of President Barack Obama has created so many difficulties in North American countries, like in Venezuela. As we speak today, the crisis you have in Venezuela is being influenced by Washington. Whether we like it or not.
No, you don't have proof of that.
I have proof. Let me continue now. I will tell you if you want to hear the proof.
All right.
We know the role that America have been playing, even when Hugo Chavez was still the president, before Maduro take charge of the country. So whether you like it or not, if such action plagues the economy, we know how many sanctions that have been unleashed on this country by the United States of America. And those things go a long way to affect the economy. And when your economy can no longer take care of you, you look for an alternative source to seek for a greener pasture. So the United States became a receiving end for these persons to seek greener pasture. So the truth of the matter is simple. If President Donald Trump really wants to build a well-formidable America, he must as well touch the local economy of all other countries surrounding the United States of America. And apart from that, not just the United States of America alone, the world. I have said this time without number, there is no country apart from little Iran, Russia, and China, no other country in this earth that is independent from the United States control, including our Nigeria. Imagine even in our elections here, somebody traveled to the United States of America, it became a topic. He went to America, he went to America, he went to America. As if electorates that are voting in Nigeria are in America. Are you getting the point? So, of a truth, President Donald Trump finds himself as the president of the most powerful country in the world. And he, because of his own ego, and because of the strength around him, he believes he can bully anybody. So when I said intimidation, President Donald Trump is really intimidating the Democrats. But thank God today, before now, the Congress that we were having was a Congress that aligns in totality with President Donald Trump.
Because of Republican control.
Good, but as of today, you now have a stable house. Then the true politics is now going on. And don't forget, elections, they have started even campaigning for an elections in the United States of America. Many Democrats are not showing interest. They want to really confront Trump. And I can assure you, by the power of our ubiquitous God, the truth is, it would be very, very difficult for President Trump to return again. Forget the economic development that is in existence under Trump. But right. America, I'm coming. Yeah. America is not all about economic development. They look at foreign policy implementation. They look at the rights and privileges of the citizen. When Obama tried as much as possible to say, we want to take your right to arm, gun control, it affected Democrats in the elections.
All right, I'll come back to you about U.S. now trying to get set for an election despite the fact that we have a man and of course a party in charge of the U.S. Now, from what he said, that America is somewhat responsible for destabilizing their neighboring country. Talked about Mexico, talked about Venezuela. From Venezuela, people are leaving Venezuela into Colombia, from Colombia to Mexico, Mexico straight to the borders of America. He talked about a suggestion. Can they really pull that? Talking about empowering the economy of this country. Would that money serve that purpose? Instead of building that wall with 5.6 something billion dollars, do you think they should infuse it in Mexican economy to stabilize Mexico? Would that work?
This is very simple arithmetic, you understand? If that money is given to Mexican government and under a good monitor, and say we want you to go back and put a country in order, and we no longer want infiltration of illegal immigrants to our country, it will affect the life of millions of people in Mexico. And like he said, I agree with him. The United States can be answering what power, if there's another what power. What makes it what power is that the rest of us are weak. And so we are under their whims and caprices. And so, using that just an example, is even a way of trying to promote Nigeria. Because look at African standards. African standard, there's nothing to measure with America. So if we talk about other countries like Israel, Iran, and some other countries that have felt that they don't want to be puppets under these big guys, then you can say there's some level of, nationalism in there. And so the whole world is looking at the U.S. as that giant. That whatever they say is when America, sneezes, the entire world shakes because of what they represent. I feel that the way out, one, is to ensure that the neighboring countries, those countries that are sharing borders with the United States of America, is empowered economically and politically, so that they can be self-reliant. And then the idea of a wall can't solve this problem. There could be other means of solving this problem. One is empowering those countries. Two is ensuring that advancement of technology is used to check these gentlemen from entering illegally. And again, another word is you have to listen to the other party. Democracy is a process where you give opportunity to the other party to air his or her views. The man you are trying to shut out may have the better idea than yourself. Yes. And so again, let's not forget, Democrats are saying that the United States of America is an immigrant nation. Yes. And that apart from Red Indians, no other citizens in the U.S. can claim to be indigenous Americans. And that about 90% of U.S. citizens are immigrants. Yes. And so America was built on the platform of immigration, and that you cannot wish it away completely. That even Donald Trump's grandfathers are immigrants to the U.S. And there's no American president that could claim to be an indigenous America. And we as Americans are proud to say that this is our history, because every country has their own history. And so that shutting out immigrants is not the best. And that apart from that, most of the best brains in the U.S. are immigrants. And because the institutions, the government of the United States of America have been able to build very, very strong institutions. So no matter how rugged you are, no matter how rough an immigrant is, when you come, those institutions will hold you. So in that case, they don't feel that the policy of the Republicans and Trump is the best policy. United States were able to produce most of the best brains in the whole world, people like Barack Obama. This gentleman Obama's father is from Kenya. And today, that young man he had in the US was able to rule America. And so if, for instance, the father wasn't allowed to enter the US, America wouldn't have had the opportunity of having a guy like that becoming a president, ruling the US for 8 good years with a stable economy. So when you look at people like Mark Zuckerberg and co, Steve Jobs and all that, all their fathers or grandfathers, they're all immigrants. But they have come up with great inventions that shook the world. People like, Larry Page, the guy who invented Google. These gentlemen are all, immigrants. So the United States, as a matter of fact, is built on immigration. Oh, right. And since it was built on immigration, it would be a very, very wrong policy to forget the history of the U.S. and now say we're shutting these people out. What they are saying is that let us do something to check immigration, but not totally closing our borders to immigrants.
All right. Now, let's take a look at the shutdown. Is it making the U.S. vulnerable?
Very firstly, before we discuss about the vulnerability, we should first of all understand the fact that President Donald Trump is not really aware of the country that he is ruling. One. And two, President Donald Trump in itself is a man that hates foreigners. It is the truth. You can't change that. President Donald Trump is a kind of man that believes, imagine calling other people shithole.
Watch your language. Watch your language.
It's not my language.
I know.
It is Trump language.
I know Trump's language, but you're on air right now.
No, okay, I'm coming. But Trump said shithole countries. It is not as if I said it. You were aware. The whole world are aware of this fact. This thing came out from President Donald Trump, not me.
He was alleged to have said so.
Okay, as the case may be, but we know it is so. So if you look at it critically, you agree to the fact that President Donald Trump, as a person, have his own lifestyle. And the fact that he has his own lifestyle, he is not trying to see how he can be able to fine-tune the country and force everybody to be in line with his own lifestyle. And whether we like it or not, America will be vulnerable. The number of enemies that America have today in the world have increased as a result of the emergence of President Donald Trump. Whether we like it or not, President Donald Trump bullies leaders around the world. The only leader that I've seen President Trump not bullying is Vladimir Putin of Russia, because they know quite well that Russians have the capacity, not the economic capacity anyway, but the military capacity wherewithal to stand the test of time in a case where the United States of America choose to say, let me use my political hegemony against this country. Then look at what happened in Syria. We know quite well that Trump acted to protect the interest of the world. But when sarin gas was used in Syria, before we knew it, President Trump acted. But before he acted, he consulted the second big brother. Russia, I want to act, please leave there. Do you know why? Because Russia is strong enough. Do you think if it were a Nigerian troop that was there, Trump would call anybody? No, they will act. And they can act alone. Look at what happened in Libya, although I will not blame Trump for that. But whether we like it or not, American regime is an American regime. Whether there is regime change or no regime change, but there is an existing policy that is going on. So what I'm saying is, I talked about the American government destabilizing other countries. But when you destabilize these countries, there must be vulnerability. And I must align with Democrats, because there is no way you can build a wall to stop a determined enemy. As secure as Britain, we saw bombing today. When the 9/11 attack was orchestrated against the United States of America, Israel Mossad told the then president, attack is coming. He said, no, nobody can attack the United States. But at the end of the day, what happened? So if President Donald Trump is acting like this, he continues to build more enemies for the American people, because he's only calling the name of Mexico, but so many persons are playing that role. Now let's look at the visa policy of the United States before the Trump era. You see, people have access to fly through the air, but as of today, go and check U.S. consulate.
All right.
It will be difficult for out of 500 to 1,000 persons. Nobody will be given a single visa, and all of them will pay 64,000. You are not draining the Nigerian people, and the same thing is applicable to everywhere in the world, because Trump policy have put an end to immigration, whereas people are still paying money.
Okay, I will come to you now. He said that with this shutdown, it's making U.S. to be vulnerable. Would you want to agree to him? After all, some people are still working, though they've not been paid yet. They are still there doing their job to secure lives and property of the United States citizens. Vulnerability of the U.S. due to the shutdown.
Yes, it is. It is very, very clear that is making the U.S. vulnerable, because if the House is not there to, there could be an emergency. There could be an emergency that will require the Congress to take a particular decision on what that is to be done. You see that they won't be there to take that decision, and they don't expect only one person to take that decision as the president. And so the vulnerability is what is making the Democrats say, if you want us to negotiate, open the government. Then we can sit down and talk. You can't be having a government shutdown, and you're asked to negotiate. Negotiate from where? From our bedrooms or from our parlors. So if there is, for instance, like he said about 9/11, if assuming that it takes place now, where will you sit people down and take a decision on what to do? Though U.S. government, what they do is that they ensure that the Defense Department, that their budget is separate, is not touched. So as we are discussing right now, the shutdown didn't affect the defense, because they know that area is very, very, very sensitive. But that notwithstanding, it makes the government vulnerable. And again, it equally affects the foreign policy of the United States, like he said earlier, that the Trump government, in this administration, American government has gotten more enemies than friends. You don't talk like a boss while in the Committee of Nations. You apply diplomacy. That is language of foreign policy. But in this government, we have seen that American presidents, so to speak, have not been diplomatic in dealing with issues when it affects other nations. And a decent country like the US is supposed to have its same president, whose language must be very, very polite, whose language must be very, very diplomatic, whose language must be very, very, acceptable within the Committee of Nations. So these nations are independent on their own, according to the laws, international laws, and all that. So I don't think that President Trump is actually, doing the best for the United States as regards the foreign policy, as regards the shutdown, as regards his approaches to issues, both domestically and internationally.
Domestically and internationally. So the shutdown is in force. Many persons are already in their houses. Others are working without pay. What do you think should be done by both Democrats, Republicans, and of course President Trump to really check this shutdown, at least for things to go back to normal? This is the longest ever in American history.
To avoid the political imbroglio that is affecting the country right now, it is expected of President Trump to bring down his ego, to avoid more political submersals or in terms of policy implementation. First, the both party again must look for a way to shift ground. When you are going into negotiation, there must be room for trade-off. You cannot come in with 100% and expect to go back after negotiation with 100%. You must give room for trade-off. You must make some concession. The other persons will do the same. But it's the situation we are having in America right now is like putting a gun in somebody's head and you are still telling him to say, please, let us sit and discuss. It will not work that way. So President Trump, first thing he needs to do is to open the government. Not just because he really wants to open it alone, but because there is need for him to protect the interest of the American people. If you look at your screen right now, you will see that despite that, as high as that barricade, people are still climbing it to cross.
Dozens of them.
When you have one rich man in the presence of so many poor men, the rich man is at risk. We know how capitalism rules the world. We know how the U.S. military-industrial complex take charge of every other activities in the world. The resources in the world today are limited, and those who have the big power are the one in charge of it. We know that there are some amount of resources that you want to use. The IMF will call you. How are you controlling your resources? This IMF and all you are saying is under the control of the big powers. So the only panacea to address the problem that is militating against the U.S. government right now is for President Trump as the leader of the country. Whether we like it or not, other congressmen are under Trump, but we know they are operating bicameral legislature. But President Trump, who happens to be the president, the commander-in-chief of the American forces, should first bring down his ego, open the government, then negotiation kicks off.
All right, thank you so much, Stan. Barrister Mbane, for your last slide on this. How can they resolve this up? As I said, Trump should bring down his ego so that it can work. So, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think in a democracy, they should allow the tenets of democracy to flow. What Trump has failed to do is to appreciate the fact that he's a president of the most free world on earth, and that you don't give orders in a presidential system of government. You allow the three arms of government to operate: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. So what we are seeing in the U.S. is that Trump is using his executive powers to intimidate the judiciary and the legislature.
With executive orders.
With executive orders. So Trump should understand, should be meant to understand how government works, that the separation of powers should be respected. separation of powers should be respected, that the judiciary should be independent, the legislature should be independent, the executive should be independent, and the law should be allowed to flow in a very conducive atmosphere. A situation whereby you take laws into your hands and you do things your own way, you are afraid to live like, somebody guided by the law. And so there is need for the president to respect the rule of law. There is need for him to ensure that there's equity and fairness. There is need for him to ensure that the separation of powers is guided jealously.
All right.
So,
thank you so much, Barrister Nakwembane, for
remember the bedrock on which American democracy was built.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbane, and of course, thanks a lot also, Stan, for your wonderful analysis. Our time is up. Well, the shutdown is still very much in effect, day 32 and counting. The longest so far. Who we bend and who we break? Trump or Republican versus the Democrats. And $5.7 billion is what is causing the shutdown. For what? To check immigration, building that massive wall. Not the wall of Jericho right now, but the wall of Mexico. What will happen, we don't know. The same time next week, God willing. Bye for now.